From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, October the 9th, 2018. We open with a deadly terror attack that took place this weekend in the West Bank and the massive manhunt underway for the terrorist. On Sunday morning, a 23-year-old Palestinian, Ashraf Walid Suleiman Naalawa, arrived at his job at the Alon Group in the Barkan Industrial Park. He entered the factory armed with a concealed submachine gun and murdered 2 Jewish employees and wounded a third. 28-year-old Kim Levengrad Yechezkel was tied up and then shot dead. The terrorist then shot and wounded 54-year-old Sarah Vaturi, who was able to run and hide and was given aid by another Palestinian co-worker and is recovering. The terrorist then shot dead 35-year-old Ziv Hajbi. Yechezkel leaves behind a husband and baby, Hajbi a wife, and 3 children. Both were laid to rest Sunday night. IDF forces are now in their 3rd day of a massive search for the terrorist who fled the scene. They have conducted raids on his home and village. Several arrests were made, including members of Naalawa's family. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to bring the terrorist to justice. He said, "We will catch the abhorrent murderer and we will settle accounts with him. The blood of Israeli citizens," he said, "will not be spilled in vain." And in some very surprising news, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, announced today that she is stepping down from her post. Haley addressed the press together with President Donald Trump today at the Oval Office, saying it had been an honor to serve, and spoke of the accomplishments of the last 2 years, including the pushback against the anti-Israel bias at the UN. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu released a statement upon hearing of Haley's announced resignation. He said, "I thank you, Ambassador Nikki Haley, for leading an uncompromising struggle against the hypocrisy of the UN and for the truth and justice of our country. Godspeed." Jewish organizations also lauded Haley for her strong stance defending Israel at the World Body. B'nai B'rith International said Haley was a fierce and outspoken critic of the hypocrisy and politicization that is endemic at the UN. And Israel's ambassador to the UN, Dani Danon, thanked Haley, he said, for standing with the truth without fear. He said, "Thank you for representing the values common to Israel and the United States." He said Haley helped lead to a change in Israel's status in the UN. In a letter to the president, Haley cited her 2 years of service and a desire to return to the private sector. She wrote, "As a strong supporter of term limits, I have long believed that rotation in office benefits the public." Haley will leave her post at the end of the year. Some 7,000 Palestinians took part in violent riots along the Gaza border fence yesterday, with Israel throwing firebombs and rocks at IDF soldiers. Some also succeeded in breaching the fence but retreated back into Gaza. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry reported that some 29 rioters were injured. And dozens of boats from Gaza attempted to break Israel's naval blockade as well. Flyers blaming Jews for the allegations against newly sworn-in Justice Brett Kavanaugh were found on several college campuses this weekend. The flyers read, "Every time some anti-white, anti-American, anti-freedom event takes place, you look at it and it's Jews behind it." The flyer shows Kavanaugh surrounded by caricatures of Jewish members of the Senate with stars of David drawn on their foreheads, as well as others involved in the recent hearing. The flyers say they are brought to you by your local Stormer book club, which, according to the Anti-Defamation League, refers to a neo-Nazi website, the Daily Stormer. The flyers were reported on the campus of the University of California, Davis, yesterday. Its Chancellor, Gary May, said the message on these flyers is reprehensible and does not represent who we are as a community. He said the school would not stand for intolerance of any kind. May said the flyers were removed and the university is looking to identify who posted them. Director of the ADL Center on Extremism, Oren Siegel, said the flyers were also found on the campus of Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York, also seen Monday night apparently on the campus of Marist College, also in Poughkeepsie, and there were reports that a suspect was apprehended there. Well, France's most famous Nazi hunters were honored last night. Serge Klarsfeld received the Grand Cross of the Legion of Honor, France's highest award, while his wife, Beat Klarsfeld, received the National Order of Merit. She received the Legion of Honor back in 2014. The ceremony last night was led by French President Emmanuel Macron. Among the Klarsfelds' most high-profile cases, they found the notorious Nazi war criminal Klaus Barbie, known as the Butcher of Lyon, who had escaped to South America. And a bust of Nobel laureate Holocaust survivor author Elie Wiesel was unveiled in Bucharest today, marking Romania's National Holocaust Remembrance Day. American and Israeli ambassadors joined with Bucharest mayor for the event in a small square named for Wiesel, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1986 and died just over 2 years ago. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, October the 9th at 7 o'clock, Director of the Middle East Forum, Greg Roman, discusses the evolution of America's conflict with the Middle East and how the nations within it are shaping different paths for the future. At 8, Timna Rachman and Aviad Yisraeli of the IDF reservist grassroots organization My Truth talk about their firsthand experiences with the IDF. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with Israeli author Yossi Klein Halevi on L'chaim, and at 10, Halevi is joined by former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Michael Oren for a discussion on the aftermath of the Yom Kippur War. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, Mark Golub speaks at the Jerusalem Post conference with senior contributing editor Carolyn Glick. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, October the 9th, 2018. I'm Teisha Bader.